Now we're going to go to South America, recapping the South American qualifiers. And we have a team called Brazil, who was previously the greatest team out there. Even as early as the World Cup, the last 2022 World Cup, they were favorites over Argentina, over France. They were the favorites to win the World Cup. They played, in my opinion, a very good World Cup. I thought they were the best team at the World Cup. We'll talk about the Croatia game probably on this. But recently, the team has just lost to Paraguay and are on the verge of being put in a position where it's probably not going to happen, but a few more bad results go their way, they're going to get into the danger zone for not making it to the World Cup. So, boys, a lot to talk about here. What the heck has happened to this team? Roy Cito, of course, is a resident Argentine. I just want to let everyone know on the podcast about that.
Oh, why you got to say that?
Why you got to say that? Are you loving this, Roy? This period of despair? It was the best of times, and now it's the worst of times for Brazil, Roy.
Yeah, I was loving it, and now I'm a little saddened by it. It's kind of like when you hate your rival, when you're just back and forth with each other. One ups you, the other one ups, the other one ups, and you're just back and forth. And then suddenly this happens. And Argentina rises and the other falls down. And there gets a point where this guy up here is going to look down and say, where are you, buddy? What happened to the fun games we used to play? What happened to all the fights we used to get into? What happened to all these beautiful arguments and stressful arguments and all this stuff between our fans? Where is that? Where are you? Come up here. Come back up here. So that's what I feel is kind of going on. I don't know if every Argentine will agree, but it's been sad, Rocky. It's been sad to see their downfall. I don't know how long it'll last, but it's lasted a while.
It has. And it has coincided, to be candid, with missing one very important player who's been derided and who's been sort of, people have said he's not as good as he should be and that he's made moves just for money. But Brazil has struggled mightily without Mr. Neymar Jr.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be back.
Well, that's a good conversation because I looked at the lineup from the games against, when Brazil hammered Korea in that World Cup. They were on fire and they got a little bit unlucky. We're of course have a soft spot for Croatia, but I will say that Brazil did get a little bit unlucky in that match. Croatia had one shot and that shot was in the back of the net and then went to penalties and loses. So and a brilliant goal by Neymar. But I looked at the team and you know what? A lot of the same players are on this team. Vinicius Jr. still there, Rafinha still there. The some of the players missing, of course, Casemiro is no longer there. But the biggest name that you're missing is Neymar. And the other one you don't see a lot is this very, very enigmatic player, I'll call him, Richarlison. Because at when he's on and when he's fully fit, he can be a player that is world-class in some ways. And when he's not even getting playing time on clubs. So it's very interesting. You see, like from the World Cup to now, without a couple of the pieces, it's gone really bad, boys. Really bad.
And it's interesting because we talked about Argentina. Player for player, Argentina is not a drastically better team than Brazil. It's just that Brazil is missing some key pieces in the midfield, and Argentina has found the right combination in the midfield that makes all the difference. I think really, obviously Messi, but Messi wasn't there this window, but they found this midfield that works, Roy. Brazil's biggest weakness is there's no one to distribute the ball in the center. So it's just Vinicius on an island. It's just Endrick on an island, man.
Yeah. And these guys don't play for their national team the way they play for their club, especially Vinicius. Vinicius is a superstar for Real. This season's going a little rough, but in general,
he's going to win the Ballon d'Or.
And he probably will, him or Holland. But he is an absolute star on a global scale. For Brazil, he's a bad player. I'm not even going to say he doesn't hit his stride. You watch him, he loses the ball constantly. He doesn't really create plays. He can't beat players on the wing. He's not creating opportunities. He looks, comparatively speaking, for a team of that caliber to be almost a weak spot. I don't know if I want to
say bad player. I don't know if I'd say bad player.
But he looks like a bad player for Brazil.
But it's because he doesn't get the service that you need. The midfield is really in shambles, and I really think Brazil just needs getting Neymar back, if he does come back, will be a huge help. But they're just missing a couple players in the midfield, Roy. The passing isn't there. The distribution isn't there. And the little things they used to do so well aren't there. So, yes, Vinicius Jr. can still, when he's on the ball, do crazy things, but he doesn't see as much of the ball. There's nothing in the central areas. There's nothing in the central areas for Brazil.
I think
you guys
you're
aren't
right.
mentioning. You guys aren't mentioning one thing.
Yeah.
What about up on top? Like, what about the manager? That's one thing that I have major questions about, right?
Yeah.
Because as much they derided Tiche, right? And they kicked him out after the World Cup and like, oh, okay, you're out of there. And then everyone was saying, oh, are they going to get Ancelotti, right? There was this talk about Ancelotti. They come back with Dorival Jr. and I'm not seeing speaking of style, like, I don't know what style is this, man. Like during the Copa America, what style is it?
Yeah, it's bad decisions from the federation. There's also this concept of the invisible sponsor, which many Brazilians suggest affects the choice of coach, affects the call-ups being made to this team. To Rocky's point, Maki tuna. I was gonna have Maki tacos. Yeah, I might do that after this. You're inspiring me, Rocky. But Rocky's point of there isn't that central creative playmaker right now, the Neymar, that type of player who could just create chances for Vinicius, for Endrick, etc. But I think it goes much deeper. We were talking about Japan earlier today. Japan has a structure they have built that all their players come up through this structure. Brazil used to have that. That's why Japan modeled how they want their team to play after Brazil, because they had that. All these players grew up with a similar philosophy around the game, with a similar style, with similar direction. That has been lost completely. Brazil no longer has that. Their players no longer have that. They all grow up in Germany. They all grow up in Spain. They grow up in England. They grow up in France. They grow up in Italy. They're going through completely different systems, and they've lost what has made them special. They haven't found something else to make them special. They're in this weird middle ground where the beautiful style play is gone. But they haven't gotten something else to replace it.
Yeah, I mean, I think of these players, right? Rapinha, Charleston, they're good players, right? They're not incredible players. And so in order for that to work well, you need to have a system that works. I completely agree. They have probably two world-class players, right? They have Vinicius Jr. and they have a world-class goalie. I think those two world-class goalies, let's be honest. But that's, I think, where they excel. And beyond that, they have some very good players. But I don't know that anyone's world-class in the way that we've been accustomed to believe Brazilian players should be.
But they don't need that. They don't need every player to be world-class. Look at Argentina. Not every player is world-class. Look at Spain, the recent addition of Spain. Not every player is world-class. They have a couple. Yeah. They don't need that. They need what you started on, which is the structure, the philosophy, everyone on the same page around how Brazil should play. Regardless of where they play in the world, there should be that shared understanding. This is the way we should play. They don't have that. They're getting the wrong coaches. But federation is a disaster.
They did nothing different than Argentina or Spain in who they hired, right? Argentina went to the youth, went to Scaloni, right? Spain did the same thing, hired a former youth manager. Brazil's going internal as well. I don't see this as any different from what the other big teams have done. Italy has an Italian coach, right? This is a very standard. England owns Lee Carsley. Like this is nothing new for big teams.
Yeah. I think I agree with a lot of the points that were made. I think the midfield is a big issue. You know, you look at you look at their starting midfield, right? Like against this game they lost against Paraguay. You have, Luis Paquetá,
who it just isn't there for me.
Yeah. A Brazilian fan, say if you feel differently, but I agree with you, Rahi. I don't know how you feel, Roy. I've never understood, the amount of credit this particular player gets, and I don't know if he's the answer for Brazil.
I think most Brazilians will agree with you, not only on Paquetá, but on most of this roster. I think there is a disconnect between this Brazilian team and the nation of Brazil and the people of Brazil. My suspicion, and I've heard this from Brazilians, they don't feel that connection to the national team like they did 20 years ago. Some of them don't even know the players on the team. They don't love their team. They love their club teams. They love their Sao Paulo, Fluminense. They love supporting Real Madrid, etc. But when it comes to their national team, there isn't that national obsession like there was before with the Brazilian national team.
Yeah,
there's
and
a
you know who
reason.
did that? I think Neymar was that player that that brought it all together. He was the glue. You know what I mean?
100%. I think I'm doing a disservice to Rodrigo as well. He may be also another world-class player. I just thought of that as we were
He
chatting.
plays well,
He's
man.
young enough to. My bad, Rodrigo. Don't text me. It's okay. You are world-class
He's
as
up
well.
there. You were just texting him before the call.
Yeah. So, all right. So Brazil, hopefully Brazilian fans out there, let's hear what you have to say. Hopefully you figure it out before the World Cup.